I am absolutely elated to welcome on stage Ryan Beichu, who's a familiar name in Trinidad and Tobago, coming from grassroots, rural community, and has had a successful career. So welcome on stage, Ryan Beichu.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shanali. Thank you to everyone who made it this morning. Listen, I know how tough it could be, right? I was once your age, and July, August vacation, you don't really look forward to getting up too early to do stuff. But I promise you that this morning could have a lasting effect on all of you. And we really made this really engaging. When Shanali called me, you know, she was adamant, Ryan, this cannot be about anybody else, not the politicians, not the heads of mission, not the ambassadors. It has to be about the youth, the children. And I'm really happy, Shanali, that you really afforded me the opportunity to be here this morning to really help engage with you on a very, very important topic, a topic that is not discussed often enough in the Caribbean setting. And without further delay, I'd like to welcome our esteemed panel for our sport and mental well-being discussion. The four athletes that you're about to meet are familiar faces that you would have seen on television. You would have seen them on the internet, trending. You would have seen them at some of their highest moments. But as David was saying, sport is not only about those high moments. And when we see them on the podium, these athletes as well have some really, really tough days, some really bad days that we don't see. So without further delay, let's welcome on stage, first of all, Cleopatra Borel, who is a former shot putter for Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. And not only was Cleopatra a former shot putter, you can come on, Cleo. Not only was Cleopatra a former shot putter, she competed at 5 Olympic Games. For some, getting to 1 Olympic Games is a tough task. She got to 5. Former Trinidad and Tobago track and field athlete Jehue who won a World Championships medal in 2013. Jehue, welcome and thank you so much for being here. We have with us Rayad Emrit, former Trinidad and Tobago cricketer who represented the West Indies at a Cricket World Cup. Rayad is here with us, and he's also now the coach of the national under-17 cricket team. And Rayad, we really appreciate your time. We know that you are stuck right in the middle of a cricket camp right now, but you've made time for us, so we appreciate that. And last but by no means least, Thema Williams, the former Trinidad and Tobago gymnast. Thema. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. We know that your schedules are absolutely hectic, and on this time, I'd like to welcome back Shanali to the stage, because what we'd like to do is we'd like to get to know you guys a little bit. We have a very young audience here. Some of our audience would have seen you guys at the sunset of some of your careers. And we wanted to start by asking, we'll go from Thema down the road. Thema, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the sport of gymnastics, how you got into your sport?
I started gymnastics at 6 years old because my sister was a gymnast at the time. She would usually come home and show me some of the skills, and I would try it at home on the couch. And we often make jokes that she was my first coach. So a lot of the skills that I had going into the gym was because my sister coached me. And my mom eventually she was afraid that I would hurt myself. So she went to the gym and she eventually said, well, take her. And that's where my gymnastics career kind of started.
And as they say, the rest is history.
Yes, absolutely.
Rayad?
My dad had a windball team. For you all, you know, windball cricket is very popular in Trinidad and Tobago. So I was always the guy to go whenever they played. Obviously, I couldn't play because I was around 9 years old. So I tried to go and watch as much as I could. Hopefully, they'd be short one day and I get the opportunity to play, which it did happen. And when I did, I knew from then on I always wanted to be a cricketer.
And you went on to play for the West Indies team as well.
Yep.
Jehue?
Thanks very much, Ryan. Good morning, everyone. I got into track and field by chance, basically. My dad, just like Rayad here, got me involved in cricket from the tender age of 6 years old. But at some point, honestly speaking, I was fed up of catching that hard cockball in the hot sun. You know? Um, but from there, I had to make a choice when I went to secondary school because I was partaking in all sports, cricket, football, and both track and field. And my physical education teacher, the late Mr. Albert King, told me that I had to make a choice, and it was in Form 3 that I decided that I will continue with track and field.
You know, Jehue Gordon, a lot of people only know Jehue won the World Championships gold medal in 2013. 3 years before that, Jehue Gordon also won a World Junior Championships as well. Cleo, let me, no pun intended, throw it across to you.
Good morning, everyone. So my story is kind of a mix of what everyone is saying. My sister was throwing. I was younger than her. I wanted to throw. My dad managed football teams. I wanted to not wash their uniforms. I wanted to be a player on the team. But I really got into track and field my freshman year of university because I was scammed of my housing money, and I had to find a way to get on campus, to live, to survive. So I took a look at myself and my skills. I couldn't sing So I walked onto the track and field team at Coppin State College and managed to win the NCAA title by my senior year. And by that time, I had the Olympic standard, so that's how I got into track.
Wow, some really terrific stories. Wow. And all of these athletes on stage went on to represent our country, Trinidad and Tobago, at the highest levels of their respective sports. And to them, we owe a great deal of gratitude as well. Shanali, welcome back, and thank you very much for inviting all of us here. You've done such a terrific job in getting this off the ground. We have this little bit of a container here with most of your thoughts and your questions on this. And so we have these thoughts, because Shanali was just so adamant that we want to answer as many questions. I'm not sure if you'll get through all of them, but we want to get through so many other questions that you guys pose. But just before that, guys, just before you hit center stage, just before you go out onto the Olympic field or the field for cricket or the beams, something must motivate you. Perhaps, I don't know, a song, Chinali? Perhaps. What do you guys, what's your favorite song that you really listen to before you head out on stage? Cleo, let's start with you.
I love listening to Trinidad Lass. It just gets me hyped because I know that at the end of the day, I'm representing the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's what really matters to me, so I listen to that song.
For those in the audience who may not know it, let's hear that song.
I want to see your right hand. Show me all your right hand. Put up your right hand. Show me all your right hand. Your right hand. Trinidad, 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 Trinidad.
So Cleo, this was played 5 times while you competed at the Olympics, so 5 times you listened to this one before you headed out.
It was played on repeat.
Wow.
Yeah, while I'm training for 4 years, you just listen over and over to remember who you're representing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jehue, how about you? What song do you listen to just before you head out into the track?
Just before I head out to the track, I listen to soca just like Cleo.
Right.
The energy that is required to take us there. We need soca to keep us on that upbeat, so Terrible by Irfan Alves and Marshall Montano was my song.
We should have that song as well, I think.
Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, fingers up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, fingers up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, fingers up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, fingers up, my friend. Is that time again?
Rayad, I understand you're a soca man yourself.
Yeah, I like these two. Soca music, for some reason, keeps you going. I guess because we are Trinis, it's in our culture. So as soon as I step on the bus, I say my prayer and then soca.
Which song takes you to the cricket field?
Marshall Montano, Hunting Feeling.
All right, let's hear that one.
Whoa, yeah, yeah.
here we go. We had to have one.
Not to break the trend of patriotism, but for me, gymnastics was always an individual sport, so I kind of was fueled by not necessarily like soca music, but more like God, and knowing that He was always with me. So Tasha Cobbs, I'm getting ready.
Oh, let's hear that one.
Eyes haven't seen,
I like it.
ears haven't heard the kind of blessings that's about to fall on me. 'Cause victory is here. Kick defeat out the door. God's doing a new thing, yeah. Get ready for overflow, 'cause I'm getting ready.
You know, I didn't actually know Stand Up For You until you posted that song. I think it was with your Olympic video as well.
Right.
Yes, that's Andra Day. Ladies and gentlemen, do any of you in the audience listen to some of those songs as well? I think the soca might be, yeah. So you see, there are a lot of common denominators. These athletes listen to some of the same music that you guys listen to as well. So like I was saying, you know, this is a container filled with your questions of what you'd like to know from some of these athletes. And without further delay, let us begin posing some of these questions to our panel. I don't think I had the opportunity to brief you guys, but that's okay. You guys are athletes, international athletes. You don't need too much of a briefing anyway. But what we've had is we've had these young people, these youths within the audience, write down a bunch of questions that they would like to ask you. So we're just going to pull randomly,
Okay.
and we're going to ask you guys. All right? So first one. Let me see if I can get this first one. It's sticky notes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Victoria Lewis. Do we have a Victoria Lewis? Victoria, take the stand. She might be shy. I'm not seeing Victoria. Just give us a wave, Victoria. Just give us a wave.
No, it's not it.
Okay. So Victoria asks, and I'm going to pose this one to all of you. Do you love cricket? And coming from the Caribbean, I imagine that all of our athletes, despite differing sports, would have played cricket at some time. Tim, I'll start with you.
I can't say that I am the biggest fan of cricket, no offense. But I think that
Might have to separate Rayad.
I became more like fond of cricket when I read this poem which would have been for CXC, I think it was Test Match, Sabina Park. I remember reading it, and just the way that they described the scene, it really made me more engaged in the sports, and it made me realize like how excited it gets everyone, and how much of an important part of our culture it is. So I kind of got into cricket a little bit more because of that.
We're getting UCPL tickets this year. Rayad, do you still love cricket after playing it for such a long time? Do you ever get tired of it?
Brian, I'm still playing. I'm not too tired.
I'm bad. Current TNT national cricketer.
I still love it. I still enjoy playing it. I always tell myself, as soon as I stop enjoying, I'm done. I don't want to go on a cricket field and be there and asking myself why I'm there. So I still have the passion for it, so I'm still playing. Yeah.
Jehue, some people would say you have the height of a fast bowler.
I was a fast bowler. Yeah, fast bowler, number 2 down in batting, so all-rounder. I did love cricket, but I think I passed on my love for track and field. I still enjoy it, especially shorter version of cricket.
Wow. Cleo?
I do love cricket. I enjoy cricket. I think I enjoy going to the Oval, the vibes. And I love what cricket does for the West Indies in terms of the West Indies team. And, when we travel to New Zealand, Australia, that's a real vibe. So I do love cricket.
Yeah, love to see the West Indies win. All right, let's take another question now. This is from Darius Nicholas, who's 14 years. Darius, are you with us? You should be somewhere around. There we go, Darius. Let me ask Darius a question. What do you do as an athlete to keep pushing through all of your issues/mental health? Cleo, you want to take a stab at that one?
Well, for me, as I said, I was scammed as a freshman in college. And I felt like if I did not do something athletic to kind of like work that energy out, I felt like I was losing it. So I would have to say being an athlete is it's the thing that I do to help me be mentally strong and just the skills that I've learned from being an athlete all these years, the discipline and understanding how to take a loss. So athletics is actually what I do to keep me mentally grounded.
Jehue?
Darius, that question is very sensitive to me because I think competing at elite level sports, a lot of us, we always go out to compete to win, never to lose. Sometimes we place 8, we don't make a finals, and obviously we are heavily criticized. At the end of the day, it comes down to your support team. I would recommend not a very big team because there are always going to be bandwagoners, but it is very important that you have at least one person that is positive in your corner. You would also need a very strong belief in your creator, whoever your God is, and also to be intrinsically motivated. I wasn't exposed from a very young age to all the nice bling and flam that you may or may not see now at this time, but just the love and passion and knowing some of the struggles that you have faced that you never want to experience in life again has driven me for the majority of my career.
Rayad?
Similar to Jehue, I feel like you're saying the same thing I want to say. In 2014, I was playing a game in India and I dived to stop a ball and dislocated my shoulder. I went to the hospital and after the MRI, the doctor told me that I might not be able to bowl again. And cricket was my life. I never thought about what will happen after cricket at that stage. And then I realized how important it is to have something after cricket. But, as Jehue said, having good people around you. My family we are a very close-knit family. I was just married, and when I came back home, the flight obviously from India is very long. So you can imagine someone telling you might not play cricket again. The flight gets longer. When I came home, I had a tournament 2 months after. 2 months and a bit after. And I was so determined that I am going to play in this tournament. It's the most I've ever prayed, in that short space of time. I believe in God. I know I'm here for a reason. And I want to prove and make use of the ability that I have. And my wife, who is very supportive of me, there's nights that I went to sleep crying because I know there's a chance that I might not play again or might not bowl again, but I always believe that I could do it. And, I had therapy, physical therapy for 60 days straight.
Wow.
Go in at 9 in the morning and leave at 5 in the afternoon. It is therapy. Therapy is therapy. And, I eventually played in the tournament. I came out with the most wickets in that tournament, and I'm still playing. So having good people around you, as you say, make your circle small, but make sure that people who are around you are really trustworthy and they believe in your ability and most of all, believe in the creator.
Make your circle small but trustworthy. I like that, Rayad.
Absolutely. For me, it was more positive words of affirmation. As I said, gymnastics was an individual sport, so it was a lot of me kind of having to motivate myself, despite having a very strong support from my family and, of course, my team. A lot of the trips that I went on were by myself and with my coaches. So words of affirmation, for me, that was more how I would rewire my brain in terms of days when I didn't feel like doing it, days when I was too tired, or days when I just didn't feel like myself. Words of affirmation definitely helped me. That and of course meditation. Now meditation could take different forms for everyone, but one of my favorite forms of meditation, as you could tell, I'm very rooted in my spiritual wellness, I would say, is prayer. I think that prayer is very important. Again, it's another form of affirmation. Positive words to yourself could really rewire your thoughts and change your mind completely. So that's kind of how I kept my mental wellness in order throughout my sporting career.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Darius, and thank you to our panel for some really excellent answers. Cleo, this one is specifically for you, from a big fan, by the way. I think it's Jamoni Charles, and they're asking, Cleopatra, Borel, how do you keep up with throwing that big weighted ball? What fruits and vegetables do you eat to keep up with energy? And it ends with a heart, love you.
Oh, thank you. So how do you keep up with throwing that big heavy ball? You throw a bigger, heavier ball. So when you need to throw the big heavy ball, it doesn't seem so big and heavy. You're like relieved that you don't have to throw the even bigger, heavier ball. And it's just about, for me, I keep going by focusing on the next step. I would never look at my entire training plan. I would just, okay, what's next? And I do that. What's next? What's next? And I like to cross things off a list. So that's what I did to keep throwing the big heavy ball. In terms of fruit and vegetables, I love all the fruit and vegetables. Just everything, except Karaili. That's what my line is. But yeah, all the fruits. I love food, as you should be able to tell. And, yeah, so just all of them. Eat all your fruit and vegetables. Try them different ways. Yeah.
Jalen Simmons, 14 years old. Are you around? Just give me a wave. I like this question that you're asking, Jalen. And I'm going to pose this question you've asked, Jalen, to Trinidad and Tobago cricketer Rayad Emrit, because Rayad, I think you're best to answer this question. What gives you the motivation to keep training?
I made the West Indies team in the first time in 2007. I had most wickets for like 5 years in a row. After 2007, never played for West Indies. And I keep seeing the guys who wasn't up to my level at that time and keep playing. And I decided, you know what is for you is for you. I always believe in what is for you is for you. So I tried that. I tried to motivate myself by training with the younger athletes. They said I'm too old, so I'm going to prove them wrong. So I always try to prove people wrong and train with the younger athletes who they say are fitter than me. So I set myself a high standard.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a terrific answer. All right, let's take another question. This time it is from Cameron Pujo, 13 years old. Cameron, you with us? Cameron is somewhere around. Ah, there we go. Cameron asks, how much of your mind did sport take up on a daily basis, Thema?
At one point, at first, it didn't take up my mind entirely because I was in school, firstly, so I had to focus on school and academics. And I also did, during class, I would doodle a little bit as well. So art was always a part of my life. But when in 2014, I decided to move to Michigan to train for the Olympics. And I think that's when sport kind of it occupied way more of my mind because all I did was go to training, come back home, and sleep. All I did was eat, sleep, breathe, gymnastics. So at that point, I would say about 90%, because I would say it's unhealthy to say it's 100%, because I would use art still as a coping mechanism in between, and that would be kind of like my cool off. I would go to the movies, or I would go shopping, things like that. So I would say, just to answer the question entirely, I would say it would never be healthy for you to focus 100% on anything in particular. I think one of the panelists would have mentioned that it's important to have other avenues as well, where you may need to relieve stress, because sport is not always going to be fun, especially if you want to reach an Olympic level. So I would say it's important to have other outlets as well. For me, 90% would be the most that I've ever focused on sport, and the other 10% was family, friends, art, and other things that made me happy as well.
You really can't drown yourself in one particular thing, even if you love it.
Even if you love it. Even if you love it, you're going to get tired of it. There will be days when you don't want to do it at all, you don't want to hear about it. And I think it's important to have other outlets as well.
And that's fine, Thema. The days that you don't want to.
Absolutely, it's totally fine, which is why, as I said, make sure that you have other things going on as well.
All right. Let's take another question. This one from Josiah Miranda, 10-year-old Josiah Miranda. Are you around? There we go, 10-year-old Josiah Miranda. And I like this question a lot. It's an open-ended question, Jehue, but I'm going to pose it to you anyway. What should Josiah do to become a great sportsman?
Josiah, are you sure you are 10 years old? All right, that is a very good question. If I consider myself one of track and field local greats here in Trinidad and Tobago, everybody's story is going to be a bit different. As I mentioned, I started off with cricket. Thema mentioned just now, just having other avenues to, just kind of vent sometimes, because sport occupies a lot of your time, the majority of your time, especially when you want to hit the elites, or at least to the Olympics in cricket and maybe the World Cup, football, etc. So what I'll recommend, first of all, is to know what sport you love, why you love doing it, and have reasons to continue going. If it's because of all the shiny things that goes on, then I don't think you may last as long as you would like to. But outside of that, it comes from the heart and the passion, one for representing yourself, the talent that you have, and obviously for those that are around you. Those are my main reasons why I do it, and some of the reasons why I extended and lasted the length that I have done in the sport. So, really good question.
Yeah. So this one from Stephen McLeod. We have some really terrific questions, by the way. 10, 12, 14 years of age, and these questions are simply terrific. And I love this one as well from Stephen McLeod, who's 12 years old. Stephen, are you with us? Yeah? There we go. Stephen, how are you doing? I love this question. I'm going to pose it to our 5-time Olympian, Cleopatra Borel. Cleopatra, what do you do when you're nervous before a match or a race? And you competed at 5 Olympic Games. Surely before you headed out onto the field, you're nervous.
So when I'm nervous, I like to journal a lot, and specifically journal my training. So I write everything that I do on every single day. Each year I start with a new journal, and I would draw little stick figures, happy faces when things went well, sad faces. I'd write, bits that would motivate me in my journal. Like, for example, I would oftentimes, if Christmas wasn't on a Sunday, my coach would have a strain. So I'd, draw like a little Christmas tree in my journal. And so when I'm nervous, I felt like my nerves came from kind of imposter syndrome and feeling like, I'm at the Olympic Village. Do I really belong here? You're amongst the best athletes in the world. And so by going over my journal, which is a witness to the work that I did, always helps me control my nervousness. It was there, and it was something tangible that reminded me that I'm ready. So that's what I did to help with nervousness. And then I also saw our sports psychologist, Dr. Otley, and she taught me sort of an exercise, because when I felt nervous, I couldn't feel my legs. And you actually throw the shot with your legs, not your arms. So she taught me to flex my entire body so that I can feel myself. And I mean, you can do that in class, you can do it anywhere. Just sort of like flex all your muscles and channel your energy. So that's what I do to deal with my nerves.
It's such a good question. I would just wonder if anybody else on the panel would like to have an answer to it, because I just feel like that's such an important question, because it's not just athletes that get nervous before their most major moments, or before a race, or before heading out onto the field, but it could be anybody really doing anything that's very important to them that moment just before Thema.
I think for me, it was focusing on my breathing, because when you control your breathing, I think that you're a lot more in control of what you're actually doing and your performance. And I think it was also visualization. visualization. Gymnastics is so routine. Every day you go into the gym, we would have to do like 6 beam routines, 4 bar routines, 2 floor routines, and probably about 10 volts. So it really was a process of me literally sitting, closing my eyes, imagining the vault, imagining the bar routine, imagining my beam routine, imagining my floor routine, and then getting my breathing under control while doing so, and then performing. I think that, for me, really helped with the nerves.
Yeah, listening to both Thema and Cleopatra, it just seems that they're saying the common denominator is remain calm.
Yeah.
This is, when you're nervous, it's not really the time to begin panicking. All right, Brendan, 14 years of age, asks, what is the best advice to a happy life and a diet, Rayad? It's not a sport question, and that's why I like it so much.
Oh, God, a happy life. 14 years, what?
14 years.
Happy life. Surround yourself with good people, good energy. When I'm happy, my kids, I have my kids around me most of the times. That makes me happy. I know you're 14 years, I don't expect you to have kids, but yeah, when my kids are around, I'm happy. I like to spend a lot of time in my room when I'm home. I'm not home as often as I should be, but when I'm home, I'd like to watch a lot of Netflix and be in my own space. So that's when I think I'm most happy. But when my kids are around, I'm calm. I have nothing in this world to worry about besides both of them fighting for the remote and the iPad and that sort of thing. So yeah, but surrounding yourself with, I keep saying, surrounding yourself with good people, keep your circle small, and positive energy is what drives me. Just one thing on that. When I'm during tournaments, I don't go on social media at all. I try to block off the outside noise, because you can go on social media and one comment could ruin your entire tournament, and you don't want any negativity when you're in tournaments. So I try to block off social media. I learned the hard way 1 year in CPL, and I said I'm not going to do it again. So I do that. And when you have positive people around you, they send positive things to you all the time. So you don't have to go on social media to see anything. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. Nissa Bailey, and this one is for you, Jehue. How does athletics affect your mental health? And I'll go a little bit further in asking you, how do you cope with that as well, those effects?
Mental health is very important today. As Rayad mentioned, everybody now, we have critics online, Twitter fingers. That is not something that we would like to see right before competition. And just growing up, we've had to deal with our own mental and emotional stuff, maybe personal or external. But how I dealt with mine was, first of all, realizing that I had mental stuff that I needed to deal with, and I have also worked with Dr. Utley growing up. So from 2012 leading up to the Olympics, which has been one of my best Olympic performances, placing 6th, I have seen a psychologist. Even to date, I think it is very important, because life is all about dealing and coping with stress.
Yeah. Coincidentally, I also picked up a second one from Nissa Bailey as well, but I just felt that this is such a good question. And clearly, I'll pose it to you. How do you keep up with both academics and sport? And at these ages that we have young people in our audience today, it's so important, because a lot of them fall in love with sport, but they're also going to school.
Yeah. So for me, being a student athlete at the university level, and then not being a student athlete and returning to school, and then looking at my friends, etc., whom were not student athletes, the rigors of being an athlete, knowing I had to go to practice from whatever time to whatever time, I had to go to weight room, kind of like held my feet to the fire. So then I had to have like a very structured schedule as a student athlete. And I think that knowing there is no later for me, I have to get this assignment done now. My scholarship depends on this assignment. My play time depends on this assignment. I felt like being an athlete really helped my academic achievements, and it ensured that I graduated on time. I have friends who could take a semester off, and they're still taking that semester off, unfortunately. So being a student athlete really went hand in hand with my academic achievements.
Yeah, Red was making the point while he was speaking a little bit earlier that part of thinking about what you do after sport includes a lot of school as well. We have another question. This one is from Kieran Pierre, who asks, what is your morning routine, Rayad?
So I'm up at 5 a.m. to pray. And most of the times when I finish, I head straight to the gym or I go running. That's when I'm getting ready for a tournament. So I'll probably run for 45 minutes. If I'm not running, I go to the gym, work out for probably an hour, get back home, have breakfast, and my day starts all over. Go to training with the national team. We train for like three hours. Get lunch, try to pick up the kids, and then the day starts all over again. So that's my routine.
Kayla Crawford, 17 years old. Kayla, I like this question. Are you with us? Yeah, just give me a wave. Yeah, this is a lovely question. What do you think, and I'm going to pose it to all four panelists because I like this one so much. What do you think was the most valuable experience you had, Thema?
I think my most valuable experience in sport was, I think it was learning new skills in gymnastics. I would say that was something that was constant. And it was just a gentle reminder that not everything would happen on the first try. So I think for me, it taught me to be very determined in my pursuit of my goals. And of course, leading up to 2016, it posed to be one of the most valuable lessons that would have carried me through one of the most difficult times of my career. So I would definitely say it was all in learning new skills in gymnastics, because life is about being adaptable to situations, and I think learning new skills always ingrained that in me, because your routines could be great, but in order to raise your start values and to increase difficulty, you always had to learn new skills. You know, so it was always that adaptability of the sport of gymnastics that kind of transitioned into my everyday life and eventually became essential in my pursuit as an entrepreneur as well. So I would say for me it was learning new skills and learning how to adapt.
Of course, Thema now runs and she founded the Thema Williams Athletic Academy, right?
For me, my dad, he was a jeweler, and growing up, after school I had to go to help him out at the business, and at that time, we didn't really have a big business, but on a Friday, you look forward to KFC. KFC was a big thing on a Friday afternoon, and this one Friday, it was like around 5:30, so we said, it's time to close, but I know that, customers had to come to collect their stuff for us to get money to buy KFC, obviously. So while packing up, there was only $5 in the drawer, and I was like, why it is we closing now? It's only $5. I won KFC, my 3 sisters won KFC, my mom. And I was like, Dad, we have only $5. He's like, yeah, don't worry. Tomorrow, they'll come for their stuff. And I was like, no, but KFC, you have to get KFC today's Friday. And he was like, don't worry, God will provide and, we'll be all right. And I was like, how on earth are we going to get $5 KFC? That ain't impossible.
Even then.
And, that stuck with me for life, it's not everything that you want you're going to get, and just be patient, and it's going to happen at the right time. And, that stuck with me throughout my cricketing career. You practice so hard sometimes for something, and it don't happen today. It don't happen in this tournament, but it'll happen down the road. And, I live with that throughout my life.
Jehue?
One of the most valuable experiences that I had came from the 2012 Olympic Games. I was just 20 years old, and I placed 6th in the final. Some people may consider that a success, but obviously, we only celebrate the winners. And unfortunately enough, after the Olympics, I felt really depressed. because we came back and everybody celebrating first place. Um, so it was a really defeating mental state that I was in. I took time out for like 2 months and questioned myself, should I continue track and field? But I had really good friends at that point in time who dug me out of that really deep mental place that I was in, and all the pressure that I put on myself to win a medal in the Olympics, because I went in with it tied for the third fastest time in the final, placing 6. The following year for the World Championships, where I actually won in 2013, I decided to shift the focus from winning to actually enjoying the sport a little more. So instead of pressuring myself to win, I decided to, just express Jehue a little more, help the younger ones when I came back, or when I did decide to start training heading into the 2013 season, and it allowed me to enjoy the sport a lot better, and also calm some of the nerves from wanting to compete at the top and win.
I would have to say it was qualifying for the Olympics for me, finally having that A standard. I qualified for World Championships in Paris the year prior, and with a B standard, and I wasn't selected for the team. And then I looked at the results, and I'm like, I could have made it to the finals, I should be there. And I could have really become despondent by that experience. But my coach, my team, we just decided to grind super hard for the next year to make sure that my Olympic berth was in my hands, that I had the A standard, and it would really take a lot for me to not be selected. So just knowing that I can put my mind to something and work hard and have that outcome, I would say is like a really precious moment for me.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Kayla. We have a question from 13-year-old Gabriel Douglas. How did sport impact your life, Jehue? It goes deep. It's deep. It's deep.
Yeah, very deep. Sport impacted my life in both a positive way and somewhat of a little negative way, because now you have the expectation of an entire country when you do really well, and then when you don't perform, you are heavily criticized. But I would say for the most part it was really positive, because it taught me so many life learning lessons that I'm able to take into my transition outside of sport. So hard work, discipline, being able to stay focused, application, some of the things that while you're going through secondary school, you might hear your teacher saying he's a hard worker, but he's just not applying himself properly. And simple things like that, we may not understand what our teachers were saying at that age, but I think sport has helped me kind of fill into my own shoes as I transitioned.
Yeah, I like this question from 14-year-old Brandon D'Souza, and I'm going to ask you, Thema, do you think that doing the large amount of training is worth it, seeing how many persons there are trying to be an athlete? And I can understand where that question comes from. Cleo is shaking her head, because you've got hundreds of other athletes training for that, maybe 1 or 2 spots. What motivates you, I'm guessing that Brandon is asking, to keep training, knowing that you've got 100, 200 people training for the very spot that you want to get?
I think that this is a really good question, because the truth is that really just limited to sport? Is that circumstance really just limited to an elite sporting experience? As a matter of fact, the pool might be smaller in an elite sporting experience. So I would say what motivated me is literally knowing that I had achieved so much in sport already, and my team around me definitely reminded me how good I was, even when I forgot, or even when I thought, well, does this make sense? As you said, 200 people vying for the same spot. For me, it was knowing and believing in myself that I am good enough to be amongst the best. And I think that, as I said, this translates into everyday life as well, because when you go for a job opportunity, it's not just you applying, and it may not even be 200, it may be more than 200 in a lot of cases, because within the elite sporting program, you'd find that it's sifted out a lot, even before you get to World Championships. So when you get to an Olympic level, it's about, as you said, maybe like 100 and something, 200 athletes. So I would say that for me, the motivator is just believing in yourself and knowing that you are capable of doing it, and that the work that you have done is enough then. So for me, that's kind of it.
All right, guys, so we're coming to the end of this first panel discussion, and as we wrap up, I just want to take the opportunity to ask all four athletes, albeit briefly, what advice, we've got so many young people in the audience today, what is your best advice for them? We'll start with Thema. Okay, we'll end with Thema.
So we had a question on happiness. How do you achieve happiness? For me, my best advice to you is to be intentional about happiness. I can recognize when I'm feeling down, when I'm dragging, when I'm not myself. I'm typically a very happy, upbeat person. So what I do is eat chocolate. Have some chocolate, shake it off, and be very intentional about your happiness. Plan your life, be excited about life. You guys are young. There's a world out there with even better chocolate than Charles. Go eat chocolate in Switzerland, Be intentional about your happiness. The limits that we place on ourselves, they're not real. And I just wish that for all of you to have a fantastically happy life.
Right.
Your best advice for the young people in the audience. Some of them don't necessarily want to be athletes. They might want to go into engineering, might want to go into being lawyers.
What I would like to leave with you all this morning is to not chase the money, but to chase the dream. Be passionate about something and work really hard towards it. I think sometimes we're all blindsided by the fact that we still have to do the basics really, really well. We have to work hard. Discipline is probably the main ingredient when it comes to success in anything that we want to achieve in life. So my words of advice would be, do not chase the money, but chase the dream.
All right.
My words of advice is there's no shortcut to success. You'll think that you're cheating someone else. At the end of the day, you're cheating yourself. Like everyone else, we want to achieve greatness, but you have to put in the hard yards. And there's times that you have to sacrifice so many things, your family life. You won't spend birthdays, anniversaries, that sort of thing with your family. But, to achieve greatness, there's a lot of sacrifice. So, no shortcut to success. Make sure you put in the hard yards. And as Jehue said, all the bling, all these athletes who have made it to the top, they go through this. They go through the same thing. There's a lot of times that we work as hard as anybody else and people don't see it. But as soon as you go out in the limelight, they see when you go to have a drink or a lime or something, everybody sees that. But when you put in the hard work, nobody sees it. That's fine. There's lots on social media going on. Everybody want to post stuff. Let me tell you something. Posting when you're working hard, don't do it. Let everybody think that you're not working hard. When they see you successful, they want to know why. So, that's it.
Thank you, yeah.
I think my best advice would be to try everything. Oftentimes we find ourselves, as we get older, we find ourselves in these boxes and we wonder where the walls came from. And the truth is, these boxes and these walls were self-imposed the entire time. So I would say try everything. The things that you're passionate about, the things that you're good at, of course, stick with them. But there may come a time in life where what you imagine for yourself doesn't necessarily pan out the way that you thought it would. That's why I would say try everything, because you always want to have other avenues to branch off into. And just to end on a thought, it may feel like simple things like doing other activities outside the sport that you're really good at may seem like nothing, but in reality, some of the best things come from nothing. So I would say try everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's stand and give a round of applause to our 4 Trinidad and Tobago athletes who would have taking time out this morning to talk to us. Thema Williams, Rayad Emrit, Jehue, Gordon, Cleopatra, Borel, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And as they exit, we just want to say thank you guys. We know that your schedules are incredibly hectic, but you guys took some time out this morning to talk to us. And good luck as you guys endeavor into helping future athletes like these guys in the audience become the best versions of themselves. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you. I know that Jamoni is here, and just as Cleo is exiting, this is the note actually that he sent to you. The opportunity is there for you to come meet Cleo if you want to run down stage side very quickly. Jamoni Charles, not sure. Yeah, he's here. The opportunity is there for you to come meet Cleo, have a picture.
Hi, Jamali. Hi. Nice to meet you. Thanks for your question. Are we going to have a full tour?
Oh, there's pictures right there.
Oh, right here. Thank you. I'm going to save it forever. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Cleo. I appreciate it. I'm going to hold on to the note, but bring it back for you backstage because I took some notes behind it. So I'm going to bring it back for you backstage. Thank you so much, Cleo.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Jamali. Thank you.
Thank you, the panel. Thank you, Ryan, for facilitating that. It's been hugely insightful.